everybody, and welcome to another fly tying session with your host Scott. Today we're going to be tying a fly called the Okey Dokey. This is going to appear in two playlists. It's going to appear in the Carp playlist and also the Nymphs playlist. This fly is equally effective for both. I've had some good success this summer with particularly carp and other coarse fish on the Okey Dokey. So I'm going to show you how I tie them myself. It is slightly different to the original. I believe the original uses a silver wire for the rib. We're going to be using my favourite tinsels. For the hook, we're using a B110 grubber. Couple of reasons for that. It's a much heavier gauge of wire, which is much better for carp fishing. Carp have a tendency to bend the hook straight, I've found with experience. So if you can go with a decent gauge wire, you should be fine. Also, these flies are able to sink without adding gold beads or other weights to them as well. The hook is more than heavy enough to get it down there. So we're going to need 2 threads. We're going to need... This is another thing I do different actually. Me not being a fan of floss, I'm using a fire orange thread, which I'll be using to make the head and the thorax. And I'll also be using a white thread for the body in 8/0. I think the original was actually made with plumber's tape, believe it or not. There are some videos out there that say that the fly has been banned and so on. I'm not sure that's the case, to be fair. All I know is it's a very effective fly when fished like a buzzer. So we're going to come in and start at the eye, which is unusual for me. Now this thread is so see-through, you can actually see the hook through it, which is not necessarily desirable, but we're going to have to live with it for this pattern. At this point I'm going to tie in my rib, which is a silver holographic Madeira Spectra. You can add lead to this pattern if you wish in the thorax area, just a couple of pieces to make the underbody of the thorax. But I find that these grub hooks are heavy enough. Oops. When you're going around the bend on a grub hook, it's easy to catch the point of the hook, so try and be careful. And that's normally far enough round the bend. You want to go about halfway around the bend and then come back up, and then you're going to build your body. I've got a set formula for it, so if you follow this formula you should get a decent shaped body. So it's all the way down. And then all the way back up again. Stopping about 1 mil from the eye. If you're not happy, just go back. And you're going to go down to about there. And then come back up all the way. If you follow this formula, all of your buzzers will be consistent. This particular fly pattern is quite good in coloured water as well, because it's quite highly visible. We're going to go to about there. And then come back up. And that will probably do it for the body. And that's where you want to do your thorax, about there. So it's probably just after the point. So then we're going to tie our ribbon. Now the original was tied with a fine silver wire. In fact, there's some patterns out there that use a black wire. There's that many variants out there, it's very difficult to find the original now. But I was around fishing quite regular at the point this fly became quite popular, and I believe it did actually have a black wire rib. There we are, that's tied in well. And then just run the thread down to the eye and then half hitch a couple of times. Doesn't have to be precise, so you don't need the needle so much with this one. You're just going to be changing thread in just a second. There we are. If you wanted to use floss, that would be the point that you tie your floss in. And come in at the eye again. Trim away the excess. That's probably the sort of size thorax you want. And then just keep building it up. If you've got a 6/0 version of this thread, use that instead, but I haven't actually got one, I'm afraid. And I've found this colour combination is quite effective for the carp on the pool that I fish. But you can use a chartreuse version of it as well. Black and orange is quite good. If you do them in smaller sizes, you'll be able to catch things like rudd and roach as well. I think you just get a better finish using thread rather than floss. I think that will do us. Whoops, spoke too soon. Beginner mistake, bumped the thread. So that's the main body of the fly done. Now you just have to finish it. There's several different ways you can finish it. You can just use varnish. You could use super glue and then varnish. You can just use super glue, or as I prefer to do it, I'm going to use a UV resin. We're using, it's a Vineyard low viscosity clear. Unfortunately the labels seen better days. So I normally build the thorax with the resin first. And use gravity to get the shape that you desire. And it's very important that when you're doing the body that you start actually on the hook itself. You want to seal the whole fly in with the resin. So if the water gets under it, it will rust and it will discolour. Especially this pattern with the white thread. You can get away with it to a certain degree with a bloodworm pattern or a buzzer pattern. But you can't get away with it with the Okey Dokey, a white one. So keep applying the varnish so you've got a nice even coverage all over the body and on the hook as well. Let it settle just for a second and that'll show up any excess, which you can get off in just a second by doing this. And then set it. Obviously for carp fishing you're going to want to nip the barb off. You can use your vise to do that or a pair of pliers when you get to the fishery. Some trout fisheries are also barbless, so it's worth noting that for if you fish a barbless fishery. And then the final finish is just one coat of thin nail varnish, clear. That just makes it so that you can handle it and preserves the finish of the UV. And there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Okey Dokey. Quite a quick tie. Stands out really well in coloured water. And I could probably see it from about 10 yards away in clear water. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye for now.